I did, you know, I did meet her, and it's funny, isn't it, when you think back, because you do try and think, yes, that did happen. You have to remember, of course, there's a lot of people who watch this channel. You know, it was a different time, wasn't it? People just didn't have cameras, and I don't know if you remember this, but it would have been seen as rude to instantly just get an Instamatic camera out, a Polaroid Instamatic or whatever, and say, "Can I have a picture?" That was sort of seen as the height of bad manners, an intrusion of privacy. And it's funny, isn't it, today, how now, you know, the selfie is just the be-all, end-all. You know, even if you don't want to meet them, you certainly want the picture. It's fascinating, I think, because, of course, I'm talking about a wonderful lady who I was lucky enough to meet not once, but twice, the brilliant actress Audrey Hepburn. And Audrey Hepburn, let me tell you, was far more beautiful, literally, as a person than first thought. Let me explain. Lovely to see you. Thank you so much for joining me on a windy day. I know. Yeah, look at, you see, look at that, eh? I know, it's just, do you have that problem, boys? Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it? Blows everywhere, nothing you can do. People say, oh, put hairspray on. Then you get accused of, you know, ruining the planet, don't you? You simply can't win, you know what it's like. But you battle on, don't you? We are in the elements, and that's the thing, isn't it? In a beautiful location as ever today, with some gorgeous, beautiful flowers. Let me get back to Audrey Hepburn. Yeah, you see, I was lucky enough to meet her, as I say, just briefly, but twice. And this is the sort of story I wanted to share with you, because it's funny how it starts a memory in your mind. You see, Audrey was a guest on a nightly TV chat show over here called Wogan, and it was filmed at the BBC TV Centre in Shepherd's Bush. And I'd not been in London too long. I was working as an usher there, which meant basically the old Empire Theatre, the Shepherd's Bush Empire. You guided people to the seats, you know, it was a really nice job actually. And I got to meet so many famous people just being an usher in that particular theatre. Wonderful, you know, as I say, different days now, but real stars came down there. Everybody from Anne Bancroft, Mel Brooks, you know, I've got so many things to share with you, trust me, you will enjoy them in the future. But Audrey Hepburn was a guest, not once, but twice. And what was interesting was, years later, I became very good friends with Sir Roger Moore, and they were both UNICEF ambassadors. And Audrey, as I say, was just everything you'd want her to be, had a great affection for London because she got a big break while starring at the London Hippodrome in the corner of Leicester Square, and then got discovered after being in a few British films and became the Hollywood icon, all thanks, of course, to Holly Golightly in Breakfast at Tiffany's. But it was another big movie that, you know, she really had a problem with. And while we spoke, as I say, very briefly, she was just beautiful, just one of those people, very kind, considerate, spoke to everybody, treated everybody with the utmost respect. But according to Sir Roger Moore, when she got signed to be in My Fair Lady with the original co-star Rex Harrison, this was signed up by Jack Warner, Audrey Hepburn, and of course Rex Harrison. And as you know, the original Broadway production and English production had starred our very own Dame Julie Andrews. And basically what Jack Warner had told them to do was to create a feud between Dame Julie and Audrey Hepburn, because this had worked incredibly well during the making of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, which was also distributed by Warner Brothers Movies. And apparently Audrey was aghast at this because she was a huge fan of course, Dame Julie. And the reason being, as she said, you know, she was picked, she was offered the role, she knew the deal, but she really felt in her heart of hearts, according to Sir Roger, that this really should have been Julie Andrews' chance, you know, her big role. Of course, it came only a few years later with the spectacular success of things like Mary Poppins and, of course, the colossus that was The Sound of Music. But Jack Warner was insistent. Now, what was interesting, he told me that Rex Harrison wasn't a particularly nice man either, very much self-centered, all about himself, and didn't really want to defend Audrey in this. Jack was pushing hard. And eventually Audrey said, well, look, if you're going to go down that route, I'm going to abandon the project. They knew she was a box office draw, and so literally, you know, he relinquished the idea. But as Sir Roger told me, and, you know, as I say briefly, when I spoke to Audrey about this, she said it was a production that was fraught in many respects, all down to the, shall we say, perfectionism. Very kind indeed, that she pointed out about Rex Harrison. It's a funny thing, isn't it, how somebody can go through the Hollywood mill, seemingly do incredibly well, but not many people absolutely liked Rex at all. Audrey told me that she was glad that the movies were still remembered, still well received, and she couldn't believe, and this was in the early 90s, that people were still interested in her. She was now more about her charitable work, and that's what she devoted her life to. But as she said, Hollywood had given her a door to do that, and all she ever really wanted to do in life was help a lot of people. It's fair to say that Audrey Hepburn did indeed help a lot of people through her magnificent performances and of course her wonderful charitable work. But as Roger Moore told me off the record, she also had a fun side too. More of that later. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.